Your brain was wired for love before you could speak, and the pattern it learned is the one you keep repeating. You didn't choose how you love. It was decided for you. Before you could walk, before you could speak, before you even understood what love was. By the time you were 18 months old, your brain had already built a blueprint for every relationship you would ever have. Every partner you've chosen, every fight you've started, every time you've pushed someone away or clung to them too tightly. It all traces back to a pattern that was wired into your nervous system before your first memory. In the 1950s, British psychiatrist John Bowlby proposed a theory that would reshape our entire understanding of human relationships. He called it attachment theory, and his central claim was radical: that the bond between an infant and their primary caregiver doesn't just shape childhood. It shapes everything: your friendships, your marriages, your breakups, even the way you handle conflict at work. In 1987, psychologists Cindy Hazan and Philip Shaver proved that Bowlby was right. They demonstrated that adult romantic relationships follow the exact same patterns as infant caregiver bonds. The way you were held or not held as a baby is the way you hold on or let go. In love, there are 4 distinct attachment styles, and one of them is running your relationships right now, whether you know it or not. Before we break down the 4 attachment styles, you need to understand the experiment that proved they exist. In 1970, developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth designed what she called the strange situation. She brought mothers and their 12-month-old infants into a laboratory playroom. Then she did something simple. She had the mother leave the room for 3 minutes. And what happened next revealed everything. Some babies cried briefly, then calmed down when their mother returned. They were distressed, but recovered quickly. Other babies became hysterical, screaming, clinging, refusing to be comforted even after their mother came back. A third group barely reacted at all. They didn't cry when their mother left. They didn't reach for her when she returned. They acted as if they didn't care. And a small fourth group did something deeply disturbing. They approached their mother but then froze, turned away, or collapsed on the floor. Ainsworth had discovered 4 distinct patterns, and decades of research have confirmed that these patterns don't disappear with age. They follow you into every adult relationship. According to a 2016 meta-analysis published in Psychological Bulletin, roughly 56% of adults are securely attached, 20% are anxious, 25% are avoidant, and the remaining 5% fall into the most painful category of all, disorganized attachment. Which one are you? Let's find out. Securely attached people are the gold standard of human connection. They're comfortable with intimacy and comfortable with independence. They don't panic when their partner needs space. They don't shut down when emotions get intense. They can ask for help without feeling weak. They can give space without feeling abandoned. And here's what makes secure attachment so powerful. It's not that these people never feel jealousy or anxiety or fear. They do. The difference is how they respond. A securely attached person can feel a flash of jealousy and say, "Hey, I noticed I felt uncomfortable when you were talking to that person. Can we talk about it?" They regulate the emotion instead of being controlled by it. This pattern forms when a child has a caregiver who is consistently responsive. Not perfect, consistent. When the baby cries, the parent comes. When the baby reaches out, the parent responds. Over thousands of these micro-interactions, the child's brain learns a fundamental truth: I am worthy of love, and other people can be trusted. That belief becomes the operating system for every future relationship. Research by Dr. R. Chris Fraley at the University of Illinois shows that securely attached adults have longer relationships, higher relationship satisfaction, better conflict resolution, and even stronger immune systems. They don't avoid conflict. They just handle it without catastrophizing. If you're securely attached, you won the developmental lottery. But if you're not, it's not your fault. And as we'll see, it's not permanent. If secure attachment is the brain saying, "I am loved," anxious attachment is the brain asking, "But are you sure?" Over and over again, endlessly. Anxiously attached people crave closeness intensely. They want to merge with their partner. They want constant reassurance, constant contact, constant proof that they are loved. And when they don't get it, when a text goes unanswered for 2 hours, when their partner seems distant, when plans get canceled, their nervous system goes into overdrive. Not annoyance, not mild worry, full physiological alarm, heart racing, stomach churning, catastrophic thoughts spiraling. They're losing interest. They've found someone else. I'm going to be abandoned. This is what psychologists call protest behavior. It's the adult version of a baby crying louder and louder when their parent doesn't respond. And it manifests in ways that are painfully predictable. Excessive texting, seeking constant reassurance, starting arguments just to get a reaction, threatening to leave when you actually want the opposite. This pattern develops when a child has a caregiver who is inconsistently responsive. Sometimes the parent is warm and attentive. Other times, they're emotionally unavailable, distracted, or overwhelmed. The child never knows which version of the parent they'll get. So the brain learns a devastating lesson. Love exists, but it's unreliable. I must constantly monitor it, or I'll lose it. Dr. Amir Levine, psychiatrist at Columbia University and author of Attached, found that anxiously attached adults spend disproportionate amounts of mental energy scanning for threats to the relationship. They're not being dramatic. Their nervous system is genuinely detecting danger, even when none exists. The alarm system is real. It's just miscalibrated. If the anxious brain screams, "Come closer," the avoidant brain whispers, "Stay away." People with dismissive avoidant attachment have learned to suppress their need for connection. They value independence above all else. They prize self-sufficiency. They keep emotional distance in relationships, not because they don't feel, but because feeling is dangerous. From the outside, avoidant people look strong, confident, emotionally bulletproof. They don't chase. They don't beg. They don't fall apart when relationships end. But underneath that armor is a nervous system that learned, very early, that reaching out for love leads to rejection. So it stopped reaching. This pattern forms when a child has a caregiver who is consistently emotionally unavailable. The parent may provide food, shelter, and physical safety, but not emotional warmth. When the baby cries, the parent doesn't come. When the child reaches for comfort, the parent pulls away or says, "Toughen up." Over time, the child's brain makes a survival decision. If I need them and they won't come, then I must not need anyone. Psychologist Dr. Mario Mikulincer's research at the Interdisciplinary Center in Israel revealed something remarkable about avoidant individuals. Under normal conditions, their brain scans show suppressed activity in areas associated with emotional processing. But when researchers used cognitive load tasks to overwhelm their suppression mechanisms, the emotions flooded back. The attachment needs were never gone. They were just buried. This is why avoidant people often feel most attracted to their partner right after a breakup. Once the threat of intimacy is removed, the suppression system relaxes, and they finally feel the love they were blocking. It's the cruelest irony of attachment theory. Avoidant people feel love most intensely at the exact moment when it's too late. The fourth attachment style is the most painful to understand because it doesn't have a consistent strategy. Disorganized attachment, sometimes called fearful avoidant, is what happens when the person who is supposed to protect you is also the person you're afraid of. In healthy development, the caregiver is the safe haven. When a child is scared, they run toward the parent. But in disorganized attachment, the parent is both the source of comfort and the source of fear. The child experiences an unsolvable biological paradox. The drive to approach and the drive to flee are activated simultaneously. The brain literally cannot compute a coherent response. Dr. Mary Main, who first identified this pattern in the 1980s at UC Berkeley, described it as fright without solution. These children would approach their parent walking backwards, or freeze mid-step, or reach out while turning their face away. Their behavior was contradictory because their situation was contradictory. In adult relationships, this translates into the most turbulent pattern of all. Fearful avoidant individuals desperately want love but are terrified of it. They pull their partner close, then push them away. They idealize a relationship one week and sabotage it the next. They oscillate between the anxious and avoidant extremes, sometimes within the same conversation. A 2019 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that disorganized attachment is the single strongest predictor of relationship dysfunction, emotional dysregulation, and trauma-related mental health conditions. Only about 5% of the general population falls into this category. But among individuals with histories of childhood abuse or neglect, the number rises to over 80%. This attachment style isn't a personality flaw. It's a wound. Now here's where it gets truly insidious. Anxious and avoidant individuals are magnetically attracted to each other, not despite their differences, because of them. The anxious person is drawn to the avoidant's independence and emotional coolness. It feels exciting, mysterious, like a challenge worth conquering. The avoidant person is drawn to the anxious person's intensity and emotional availability. It feels flattering, validating, someone who finally cares enough. But the moment the relationship deepens, the trap springs shut. The anxious person pushes for more closeness. The avoidant person pulls back to preserve their independence. The more the anxious person pursues, the more the avoidant person withdraws. And the more the avoidant withdraws, the more desperately the anxious person pursues. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle of suffering that can last years, even decades. Researcher Dr. Sue Johnson, founder of emotionally focused therapy, calls this the demon dialogue. It's the single most common pattern she sees in couples therapy, and both partners are convinced the other one is the problem. The anxious person says, "You never let me in." The avoidant person says, "You're too needy." Neither of them recognizes that they're both trapped in a pattern that was programmed into them before they could speak. According to attachment research, anxious-avoidant pairings make up an estimated 50% of all unstable relationships. And without intervention, the cycle rarely breaks on its own. It just repeats, with different faces. So here's the question everyone asks. Can you change your attachment style? The answer is yes, but it's not easy. Psychologists call it earned security. It's the process of rewiring your attachment patterns through conscious effort, self-awareness, and, critically, corrective emotional experiences. That means being in relationships where your needs are consistently met, where vulnerability is safe, where your nervous system can slowly learn that the old rules no longer apply. Longitudinal research by Dr. Lee Raby at the University of Utah found that approximately 30% of people who were insecurely attached in childhood develop earned security by adulthood. That's nearly 1 in 3. The brain's attachment system is not fixed at birth. It's plastic. It can be updated. But here's what most self-help books won't tell you. Awareness alone is not enough. You cannot think your way out of an attachment pattern. These patterns live in the limbic system, the oldest emotional brain. They operate below conscious thought. Knowing you're anxiously attached doesn't stop the panic when your partner doesn't text back. Knowing you're avoidant doesn't make vulnerability feel safe. What does work is repeated, real-world experience. Therapy, particularly emotionally focused therapy, or EMDR. Relationships with securely attached partners who model healthy responses. And the hardest part of all, sitting with the discomfort of doing things differently, over and over, until the new pattern becomes automatic. Your attachment style is not your identity. It's software that was installed by someone else. And software can be updated. If this video made you see your relationships differently, hit subscribe. We break down the hidden psychology behind every human behavior? The patterns you never knew were controlling you. Hit the bell so you never miss a video. And drop your attachment style in the comments. We read every single one.